And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of As Good as It Gets. I'm Rickey Hampton with my great friend and brother, Derrick Gervin, former New Jersey Nets shooting guard. I just don't know where to start, man. We got so much going on as the trade deadline has come and gone. Lots of moves, maybe not the mega moves some people thought might happen. But we want to get into all of this, man. But first of all, just get your overall thoughts of what went on today in the NBA, and who do you think helped themselves, and who do you think maybe hurt themselves by making a move or maybe not making a move?
Well, first, let me say good evening, and I hope everybody's doing well. Man, I'm surprised. You mentioned it right from the beginning. I'm surprised. I expected more stars. I expected a few stars to move. And when I say stars, I mean guys like DeMar DeRozan. There's some players out there that, to me, I consider stars. Miles Bridges. I expected to see Bridges go to New York Knicks, but now I can understand why he didn't go there with the moves that they made, bringing in Bogdanovich and Alec Burks, bringing him back to the Knicks. So it was interesting to me. No major moves, but there were some very good acquisitions that definitely will shore up some teams' benches and make them more formidable as we go down towards the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think about Buddy Hill going to the 76ers. He Buddy Hill is a bona fide three-point shooter. I think only four people in the history of the NBA have more three-pointers than Buddy does, and for his career, he shoots almost 40%. He's not playing. He wasn't playing a whole lot in Indy because they got those nice young guards ahead of him, but he still makes shots. But does that address the fact that they're going to be without Embiid for at least a month, maybe longer?
I don't think so because I like Buddy Hield. He's had a very good career, a very solid career. And yeah, he shot about 41% from three for his career. But I just don't think that's enough. When you look at their team, it upgrades them a little, but Buddy Hield is not a superstar. And at this point, you're losing a superstar in Joel Embiid. And we don't know really how long he's going to be out. There's a chance that if he comes back for the playoffs, of course, he won't be in shape. So I don't think this really moves the needle for Philadelphia, but I'm glad to see Buddy Hield go to a team that'll probably make the playoffs and give him that opportunity. I believe this might be his first time playing in the playoffs, if I'm correct. I know I'm close to it. It might be his first time.
Yeah, they Philly's currently 30-20. They're in the fifth spot. When you look at the East, Boston is in complete control at 39-12, and Cleveland has jumped up to the second spot at 33-16. Cleveland, they started the season off a little not slow, but they were just kind of plod along. But they got hot, man. They've won 7 straight, 9 or 10, and they are in second place. They're a game ahead of Milwaukee, and we're going to talk about the move Milwaukee made, uh, bringing in Patrick Beverly. And I'm wondering, first of all, before we get to Milwaukee, with Embiid out, can Philly finish in the top 4? Would you give them a chance to? They're 2 games behind the Knicks, 2.5 games behind the Knicks for the 4th spot, and just 2 games ahead of Indiana for the 6th.
I'm looking at them fighting for those last spots. Ricky maybe even ends up with a play-in spot. I know they still got 31 games left, and that's a lot. And I just don't see them being able to win a lot of games as currently constructed without Embiid. If you look at it, he was the MVP in my mind at the time of his injury. And that's something you can't replace. I have a lot of faith in Tyrese Maxey, but I don't know how consistent they'll be. I like Buddy Hield, but I think they needed a little more. I thought they needed a guy that could put the ball in the hole on a regular basis, consistent basis, a 20-point score, 20-plus point score. So I'm surprised to do that. But Buddy will make them a little more formidable from the three-point line. But I don't see them doing very well these last 31 games.
So with I'm surprised they didn't try to get Drummond, and who knows, maybe they did, and maybe the Bulls like, okay, give us a first round pick. I mean, because when teams know they got you stuck up, they gonna try to stick you up. So maybe they did try to move for Drummond, but just to give them another big man to Embiid got back. But with Embiid in the lineup, they are a top 3 team in the East?
Wow. Because I think Milwaukee still has some question marks. So I would have them up there, with the Knicks and Boston. And yes, I did say the Knicks. I would have the Knicks in the top 3. And I think with Embiid, I will put Philly in there. But without Embiid, it's going to come down for me for the Indiana Pacers or the Cleveland Cavaliers for that spot.
Wow. That that shows his importance to that team. Well, they are currently 30-20. Milwaukee brought back Patrick Beverley, and we've been talking on the show about their lack of defense. They're currently giving up essentially 120 points a game. When they won the title, I believe that's 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they were giving up 109. That's 11 more points a game. You know, they brought in Damian Lillard to add the offensive punch, and they are scoring 123 points a game. But it's been a struggle in Milwaukee, even though they're 33-18, made the change, fired Adrian Griffin. They got Doc in there now, and they lost their last 2 with Doc.
Well, they seem to gamble a lot on defense. Giannis has been kind of uncharacteristic defensively. We're used to him being a very good defender, a very good rim protector. But this year, he's kind of been gambling a lot, and it's kind of hurt their team. It's caused them to get broken down off the dribble a lot. And when they swing the ball to the open shooters, the Bucks have been closing out late or not closing out at all. And so that's been causing them problems. And then a lot of teams have been putting Dame Lillard in the pick and roll. So if it's not, they got him put him in the pick and roll, and hasn't been good for them. They haven't seemed to be able to adjust to that. And so that's a big problem I see going down the stretch. So Doc Rivers is going to have to probably change the defensive schemes a little bit. But they're going to still be a team that's going to be in contention. But right now, I don't have the Bucks as I don't even see them going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Hey, Gene, when you talk about they're not closing out on shooters, explain to our viewers what you mean by that. I know that's one thing, getting the hand up, but how important is that to do?
Well, you have schemes that that certain guys are going to catch the ball at the three-point line. And that guy is probably, if you run at him, say you run out to the wing and you got a player, you run at him, and then he swings it to the corner, and the guy's open. And a lot of times they're open because of the Bucks' rotations have not been on time. Guys are just not moving when they're supposed to be. I watched Robin Lopez. I know he got traded, but I watched him play last night, and they were playing a pick and roll. And he's standing basically under the basket. He wasn't out. You're supposed to be up on your man so that you could help the guy, the guard that's dealing with the pick and roll. And so when I watch that kind of stuff, it's like guys are just not where they're supposed to be. And when you're not supposed to be where you're supposed to be, it's going to cause open shots. And you got to remember, there's certain people you want shooting open shots, and there's certain people you don't. And they've been getting to the shooters, I would call them, the really good snipers. They've been getting to them late, and these guys are getting uncontested looks, and that's been hurting them all season.
Yeah, is that correctable?
Yes, it's correctable. Guys start doing their job. It's like guys are in no man's land defensively sometimes, and they've been that way all year. And then the second problem is they don't hustle back like they used to on the fast break. They're giving up a lot of fast break opportunities, and that's uncharacteristic of a Milwaukee Bucks team. Mike Budenholzer was doing a great job there with the rotations. And as far as he had a set rotation of guys he was going to play, but they were hustling back defensively. And I don't see that same. I didn't see that same fire with Adrian Griffin, and I can't blame him for that. And I don't see it right now with the same thing with Doc Rivers. And that's a player adjustment. The guys have got to want it more. It's like they're more focused now on offense. They brought Dame in, and of course they sent Drew Holiday out. So they became more of an offensive team right away. But they didn't think about how they're going to shore up the defensive end, because Dame has a lot of defensive breakdowns. And when you got the defensive breakdowns at the point of the ball, at the top of the key, and you got your guards getting beat defensively, that's a major problem. They can fix it, but all the guys have got to buy in and stop thinking so much about offense and start remembering that defense is what got the Milwaukee Bucks their championship, and it's what's had them in contention the last several years.
Okay, enter Patrick Beverley, who they acquired today. He's older now, always known for being a really good defender. Your thoughts about Patrick Beverley? Can he fill that role that Holiday did?
Oh, that's going to be, it's a question mark for me, because Patrick, they two different personalities. Patrick is an in-your-face type guy, and I'm trying to figure out, why does he keep getting moved? I mean, he got moved from the Clippers. Then he goes to this team. He gets moved again from Philly, and he's getting moved in a short period of time. So I don't know if he's being a little too hands-on and getting in certain guys' faces and they don't like it, or is it just that sometime a change is needed, and maybe he didn't fit Nick Nurse's style as well as he didn't fit Doc Rivers' style. And I think Doc wanted to bring him in. They needed some toughness. They seem to be missing that in the backcourt. I like Malik Beasley, but he's not the player that he was a few years ago. So Patrick, one thing he brings is defense, and he brings some more accountability. And if the guys get on board, I think it'll be a good trade for him. Every night he's going to give it all he has, and that's something you can never replace.
Hey, now, he and Dame got a little history. Does that mean anything when you become teammates? Will they be able to squash all that? No.
That's a good question. Well, Dame is Dame time. Yeah. And Beverly, of course, is saying the clock is broke when he's playing against you. So as professionals, I think they'll be fine. Ricky, there's certain guys like a Dennis Rodman, whoever it may be, a Ron Artest, a Meta World Peace. When they're not on your team, you hate them. Yeah. And when they're on your team, you love them. And you just go in for Patrick Beverly's there for a good reason. And I think him and Dame will settle their differences. They'll put all that aside as we move towards the playoffs. And they both professionals. I'll give them credit. So I'm going to say that'll work out just fine.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm just going over some of these trades here. Dallas is hanging in there in the West. They brought in P.J. Washington for Grant Williams and Seth Curry. They got P.J. from Charlotte for Grant Williams, who they just signed to a deal in the offseason, Seth Curry, and a first-round pick.
Well, P.J. Washington is a good addition, because if you look at the Mavericks, last year they tried it with Christian Wood, and it didn't work. They were looking for a guy that's pretty athletic. P.J. actually was playing pretty well this year. Yeah. Really well. And so to go to a team with it's going to be different for him, because he'll be in a different capacity, a different role now, because you got two ball-dominant guys in Kyrie and Luka. So, but I think he'll make the adjustment. One thing it does is help them in the pick and roll. If you remember, they used Josh Powell a lot more last year in the pick and roll. And they tried it with Christian Wood, but it didn't work. So bringing in a veteran, P.J. Washington, who's, he gets a chance to go to a better team. And I think this will be a good move for him. I believe Dallas right now is like 28-23, something like that. So the last 31 games, he gets a chance to get acclimated. He's going to help on the boards. And I think it's a good move for the Mavericks.
Yep, they're 28-23. They're sitting in the 8th spot. But they're only 2 games out of the 5th spot where Phoenix is sitting, in New Orleans. And I mean, the Derek, when you look at the West, man, we've been saying it's the wild, wild West. It's the wild, 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 wild West. Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Denver are all tied for the number one seed with an identical 35-16 records. The Oklahoma City made a move. Denver kind of stood pat, and I think so did Minnesota. And the team to watch over there, the LA Clippers, they're 34-16. So it's really, 4 teams tied for the top spot. And of those 4 teams, the Clippers look to be the strongest team over there right now.
Well, you won't get an argument from me. I still believe in my Denver Nuggets, but if you go back right now, I believe the Clippers are like 25-5 in the last 30 games, and Harden's been playing phenomenal. Kawhi's been playing phenomenal. Surprisingly, Paul George, he's been up and down, but it hasn't been a problem. Even when he doesn't score, he's still getting assists and making plays for them defensively. So if they keep playing like they are, I think their best lineup, I told you, was Zubac and Norman Powell. And then you put him in with Kawhi and Paul George and Harden. That's been their best lineup. And so they've been very consistent. Norman Powell's been shooting the ball well. And then he goes off the dribble and gets to the basket. He has a habit of missing some chippies, I'll call them. But he does a lot of good things. So, yeah, right now the Clippers are the hottest team in the Western Conference, and I don't see them having a drop-off. I think they're going to be a very formidable team. They're going to give everybody trouble down the stretch, and I think they're going to finish strong.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City picked up Gordon Hayward, veteran scorer from Charlotte. I think he was averaging 15, 16 points a game in Charlotte. But Oklahoma City is such a young team. I think he'll be a good veteran presence for them. But I just wonder about them because they're so young, D. Are they going to be ready for this? And I would have that same question about Minnesota, although Minnesota's been tested a little bit more and has some older guys with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Your thoughts on Oklahoma City and the move for Gordon and them going forward?
Well, I think that helps them. We know it helped. That's a good move offensively. Gordon is a proven veteran. Actually was on all-star level before he suffered his injury. So he's a guy that's been able to played at a very high level. This is a good move. You bring in another veteran. The only problem I have with OKC that makes me nervous is I'm a big Chet Holmgren fan, but I think, honestly, Chet should be playing at the 4. And you've mentioned people like Andre Drummond, even Vucevic in Chicago. I thought that the OKC should have been going after a big man. And with a big man, that makes them really, really, really tough down the stretch. Big Chet's going to have a tough job because I'm just picturing him going against Anthony Davis or going against Jokic come playoff time. And I think that's going to be a little too much for him. I'm a big Shai Gilgeous fan. I think they have a lot of chemistry with that team. Jaden Williams is a really good player. Luke Dort. They have a lot of good players. Josh Giddey. But I still think they're young. And by them not getting a big man, I wonder about how they'll fare on the backboards as we move down the stretch.
Yeah, I wonder about that too. I think the first time he played against the Joker, that might have been Wembanyama. The Joker said, "Oh, he's a great player. He's just so skinny right now." That might hold true for Chet when if he gets matched up with the Joker in the series. But when I look at the West and I look at teams like Golden State, they're 23-25. They did not do anything. The Lakers, 27-25 in the 9th spot. They did not do anything. Were you surprised by that? And do you wonder that these are two veteran-laden teams that have some great older players on it? Do you think they look up and see, oh, Oklahoma City, Minnesota. If we have to see them, we can deal with them young bucks.
For the Lakers, Ricky, I'm surprised only because of one reason. I expected D'Angelo Russell to be moved, and so that surprises me. And I have to say this: sometimes players are on the outs with a team, I'll say, and they're in the trade discussions, and then all of a sudden it's like that guy, instead of worrying about being traded, they take it as a positive, and they start playing really well. They just relax, like whatever can happen is going to happen anyway. So just let me go out and be myself. And it seems like D'Angelo Russell has done that over the last month and a half, 2 months. He's played really well. He had several games of over 20 points, and he's been getting his 6 or 7 assists. And at first, I had question marks about him and LeBron playing together, but they seem to have mended whatever difference that they've had. And he's played. D'Angelo has played very, very well, and he's been that third scorer. Austin Reeves has been up and down. I know a lot of people expected more from him this season, but D'Angelo has helped fill some of that void. So that would be the surprise for me with the Lakers, is that D'Angelo Russell stayed there. And I think he stayed there because he played so well, he made it hard for them to make a move for him.
Yep, they've actually won 3 straight and 6 and 4 in their last 10. Golden State, you heard a lot of talk about Andrew Wiggins maybe moving on.
Yeah, they were talking about it, but I don't think nothing happened. So I guess they got to figure that out. It looks like Clay played well the other night, and Wiggins actually played well. He's played well the last few games since he's heard his name in trade talks. And I just don't think the Warriors have enough. I look at their team, just happy to see Clay. I believe he had like 18 or something last night. He played a pretty solid game, shot 50% from the field. And so they're going to probably, I'm sure it looks like they're keeping Wiggins. The question is, what do you do with him? How do you play him? Now that Jonathan Kuminga has basically had a coming out season, and so has the rookie Podziemski. So they got to figure out now what the kind of rotation they're going to use and try to fight their way into that play-in spot, or maybe even 7th or 8th spot. It's going to take a lot of work, but of course you don't give up on the Warriors.
Yeah, still a dangerous team, but they got some work to do. Sitting in they're in the 11th spot right now, but once again they're 3 games out of the 8th spot. So
they don't rebound, Ricky. If you look at it, and then you can get to the basket easily. A lot of layups. They give up a lot of layups, and Looney's minutes haven't been the same. They went with Trace Jackson Davis a lot more, the young guy, and Kuminga, and of course Draymond. So if you really look at it, they're a team that's undersized again this year, and I think that's going to be a problem for them going down the stretch.
Okay, let's keep it moving, man. Where are we here? I'm just trying to pick out some of these teams and what they tried to do or didn't do. Anybody that I hadn't mentioned yet that you want to talk about?
Phoenix made a good move, I thought, with bringing in Royce O'Neal and David Roddy. They brought Roddy in from the Grizzlies. A pretty athletic young guy with a lot of talent. I don't know how they'll use him, but he's a guy that could end up being a regular part of the rotation. And, of course, they brought in Royce O'Neal, who's a proven veteran, could knock down the open three-pointer, can defend, and just plays hard all the time. So I think that's good, because if you look at Phoenix, they don't really have a lot of toughness. You got Yusuf Nurkic. You look at their team, and you have to go down the line to figure out who's their enforcer. Do they even have a guy that's close to being an enforcer? And they don't have that right now. So bringing in Royce O'Neal, a guy who's not afraid to, if you have to put him on a LeBron or guys like that, even in practice on a Kevin Durant. So I think that makes them a better team, but I still question Phoenix, even with Royce, how they're going to fare with no true point guard. And that's interesting to watch. They played a lot better the last month of the season, but they're still basically winging it in the backcourt with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal.
You don't consider Beal a point? I mean,
No,
I know he's a shooting guard, but
no, that hasn't been his role. That's not what he's used to. He's used to being the guy that's receiving the ball from the point guard. And if you watch some of the games with Phoenix, they're a lot of one-on-one. KD taking his, KD's not the guy with the 10 dribbles, but KD has to have the ball in his hands. Bradley's more of a one-on-one player, and that's hurt them a little bit. If you look at the team, they're up and down. Devin Booker kind of went on the scoring bench last week or whatever, and Bradley's had some good games. He had a really good game against the Wizards. I think he had about 37 on them, and that's his mindset. He's more of a shooting guard, and I think that's going to hurt them come playoff time.
I'm looking at them. Who is that point guard? I mean, they really don't. Yeah, you're right. They really don't run a guy out there.
No Cameron Payne anymore. No Chris Paul anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, we'll continue to see how they do. And I mean, man, if the playoffs started today, they would open up against the Clippers. That would be a tough matchup.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
If they open up against the Clippers. Although and New Orleans is hung in there. They are actually 30-21 too. They are sitting in the 6th spot. So Phoenix must have some kind of little tiebreaker over them. And I don't think they did much today either as I go through all these trades. But your thoughts on the Pelicans?
Oh, man, I still see them as a really good team, but as you know, I can't put them up there with Denver, OKC, the Clippers, and the Wolves. They're a tier below that. But when you have a team, Zion actually has played not bad lately. He's still having his scoring where he's up and down scoring-wise, but he's been contributing in other ways. Sometimes he's been driving. He's been kicking the ball off to shooters. And he's been playing a little better. I wish he rebounded a lot more. I think he's a guy that's capable of getting 12 or 13 rebounds a game instead of his average. I believe his career average is like 6 or 7 rebounds a game. I think that's ridiculous. But they're a team that could cause an upset in the first round as currently constructed. It's going to be tough. You already said how tough the Western Conference is. So really, you're just vying for position and trying to finish where you can have the home court advantage in the first round. And I think the Pelicans are going to be a team that's not going to go away. They're going to continue to fight with Sacramento, the Mavericks, and a few of those teams jockeying for position. But I think they'll be fighting for that 5 through 8 position and trying to finish in that 5th spot. And I give them a good opportunity to possibly pull that off.
Now, D, everybody that knows you, the Gervin family are proud natives of Motown, the Motor City, and what the hell is going on in Detroit, man? I mean, this is just truly just awful. A team that lost 28 straight games at one point this season. They've actually played a little better of late. Duran's a nice young player. Sasser. Ivy was spectacular last night, had 37 points, but they're 7-43. They just traded really 2 of the best players, Bogey, Bogdanovic to the Knicks, and Alec Burks to the Knicks for a couple of second-round draft picks and some players that they're going to probably release a couple of them. They're going to keep Grimes. Grimes is, I'm told, I don't know much about him. They say he's got a chance to be a good player.
He's a good player.
But Troy Reaver's stint as the general manager of the president of Piston basketball has been a disaster. And it started with his first lottery pick, that was Killian Hayes, who they released today because they could not trade him to anybody. In that same year, I remember you talking about, man, I wish the Pistons would have taken this kid Halliburton. I don't even know where Halliburton played in college. And when I looked at it, I'm like, D, he's got a funny looking shot, man. Are you sure about this dude?
Iowa
And
State.
he is one of the bright young stars of the NBA.
Hey,
Meanwhile, Killian Hayes is looking for a job. And
it's
I
funny.
kind of hate it for Hayes. It's not his
Yeah.
fault that he got drafted there. He's a nice kid and everything, but hey.
It just didn't fit, Ricky. Killian is not a bad player. He caught a lot of grief from the fans in Detroit, and some of it's his fault and some of it's not. Was he put in a position to succeed? And that's the question we're even looking at now. You guys did get Simone Fontecchio, Ricky, and you got Malachi Flynn. I mean, Evan Fournier. They brought in also Danilo Gallinari, but I'm hearing today that they waived him. So I don't know what the Pistons are trying to do. I think they found the cornerstones of their franchise right now, though, in Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren. So I guess you build around those guys. I'm surprised Isaiah Stewart. There's nothing really happening with him. I'm trying that after Killian. My question was Stewart. So I don't know what the Pistons are trying to do. If you look at them right now, the moves they just made, Quentin Grimes does have potential to be a really good player, but I think they're already guard oriented. So I don't know how that move really moves the needle, I'll call it, for the Pistons moving forward. Maybe they have something up their sleeve for the summer that we don't know about, a blockbuster trade or something that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, they're definitely clearing contracts. They waived the Quan House, Daniel House.
Daniel House, yeah, Daniel House.
Joe Harris, veteran shooter. Gallinari was waived today, and Killian Hayes. So they cleared a lot of that. It's just rough around here now. So one good thing is a chance to play some of these kids.
Yeah.
And see what you got. And because, I look at their position and I look at a team like San Antonio, the Pistons have won 7 games, the Spurs have won 10, but the outlook in San Antonio is so much brighter than what it is in Detroit.
Ricky, you right there, and you could tell me. I don't understand what kind of team are they trying to put together. If you go from top to bottom, down up and down that roster, it's a strange roster. I mean, what's the end goal? That's not a team that you're going to put out there. You're going to talk about as a playoff team. You still don't know. James Wiseman hasn't improved a whole lot. I mean, you let Marvin Bagley go to the Wizards. I thought he was a solid pickup for them. So I just don't understand. There's not too many teams in there that surprise me. I get at least some kind of feeling about where they're headed in the future. With the Pistons, I can't figure it out at all.
Hey, were you surprised the Hawks didn't try to move Murray? Because think about it, D. I think it was it 3 years ago they made that run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Team got hot. I forgot who they upset. A couple of teams along the way.
Milwaukee Bucks.
And they hadn't done anything since.
They knocked off the Bucks. Since then, they have. I don't know what happened. I don't. For me, I think they tried to make a move, and I know there was a lot of talk with the Lakers, but as you know, the Lakers didn't want to give up Austin Reeves, so that could have been a deal killer right there. And I just figured they couldn't get the value that they wanted from any team for DeJounte, because I'm sure they were asking for a lot. He's been a very good player, right below all-star level. I think he's had a little drop-off defensively the last 2 years from when he was down here in San Antonio. His game he's more of a scorer. He thinks more scoring now. And he used to be a guy that wanted to make all defensive teams and things like that. He might still have that feeling, but I've seen some slippage in him defensively. So I'm surprised they didn't move him. But, yeah, it just tells me that they couldn't get the value in return that they wanted for him.
Yeah, and the Bulls did not want to part with Drummond, number one, and the guard. Gosh, his name slips me. They got from the Lakers. the hard nosed
Caruso, Alex
Caruso.
Caruso.
Caruso had value, and they held on to Caruso.
Well, that's another team. Can you figure out Chicago? They right across the water from Detroit.
Yeah,
Maybe they drink. They must be drinking the same water, Ricky, because I don't know what their goal is. I thought for sure Zach LaVine. Maybe LaVine didn't move because of his injury history, but I thought someone would move. I thought Patrick Williams would move, possibly Big Vucevic and Andre Drummond and Caruso. So for none of those guys to move, that was shocking to me. So it tells me that this year I guess is maybe they don't want to get rid of certain guys, but they're going to have to do something with DeMar DeRozan at some point very soon, and Zach LaVine. So maybe for me this year, they think they can make that 9th or 10th spot and then just give it a shot and see if they can get hot come playoff time. But that's going to be hard for them to get into one of those spots this year in the Eastern Conference.
Hey, I want to take a little break and talk about the unveiling of the Mamba statue today in L.A. The Lakers unveiled the statue of the late great Kobe Bryant today. Your thoughts on that? I'm gonna try to get a picture up here.
I think it's fantastic, Ricky. The day is February the 8th, 2024. So we got number 8 and you got number 24. So I felt it was a perfect time to honor Kobe. I'm glad for him. We all know Kobe's one of the greatest that ever put on a uniform. And so to see the Lakers take time out to honor him on such a special day and during Black History Month, I think it's phenomenal. I think the timing was great. And I want to send my not even condolences. I just want to send well wishes to the Kobe's family and the wife Vanessa and the kids to see their dad get honored on such a special day.
Yeah, that's cool. It's still hard to believe that young man is gone, D.
It's kind of weird, Ricky. Some people, I know it might seem weird to some people, but some people it just mean like they were meant to still be here. And Kobe Bryant is one of those people.
Yeah. And speaking of, we need to send our best wishes out to the family of
Earl Cureton.
Yes, sir. The Pistons, longtime NBA great, University of Detroit Titan legend, Earl Cureton, who passed away this year. I'm sure your paths must have crossed along the way in the basketball world.
Yes, and I want to send my condolences as well, Ricky, because you know what kind of man Earl was. We had him on this show. He came on the show. He's just a guy that everyone loves in the community, and I want to thank him for all the things he did in Detroit. I'm talking about making a difference. He was doing that, and his passing came so sudden, and he was a young 66. So to lose Earl is, man, very sad. He did a lot. I don't know if some of the young people know about his history when he played with the University of Detroit Titans and Terry Durod and Dick Vitale and all those guys, Terry Tyler and John Long. But this is he's going to be missed. Earl was a great man as well as a great basketball player. And so, yeah, I want to send my condolences to his family. We lost a special man.
Hey, did you ever get over to those Detroit Mercy games back then when they were all going?
I saw them, because I actually went to the playoffs. You remember how they fill it up at Callahan Hall come playoff time.
Well, you played there. You played at Callahan.
I played there in high school, Ricky. That's where our playoffs were. When I was at Martin Luther King, that's where we went and played for the playoff games. So, and then I had met Earl in my younger years. And if what you saw at 66 was the same man you saw when he was 20, just a really, really good man. He was more than just a basketball player. And yeah, the basketball world, we lost a great one.
Yeah, that is for sure. That is for sure. Hey, I'm just seeing, Anunoby's out for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah.
Do you think that helped? They had to know that going into this trade deadline.
Yeah, I think him and Randall being out right now, they just trying to stay afloat. So if you look at it with Randall being out, you're losing like 23, 24 points a game. And you bring in Anunoby, who's a guy that does a little bit of everything. I call him a specialist. Everything you need to get done, he does it. So him being out, they needed some scoring, someone to complement Jalen Brunson. And when you bring in Bojan Bogdanovic, who's been a 20-point scorer in this league, and then they bring in Alec Burks back. He was a Knick before. Maybe they'll utilize him a little more this time. It was kind of funny because they had him and Evan Fournier just kind of wasting away on the bench. And I think Alec Burks is a very good player. So, yeah, I think this is a great trade. I think it keeps the Knicks offensively. It doesn't hurt them as much. And then I think they're going to make it through this 3 weeks for OG, and they're going to make it through this time for Julius Randle. And I still think they're going to be fighting for a top 3 position in the Eastern Conference.
Man, I think Burks had 25 for the Pistons last night.
He can play. You know he can play.
That's the NBA, though. You have 25 for your team last night.
And get traded the next.
Killian Hayes actually had some good minutes for him last night. You know, they were so shorthanded that they had to play some of these guys because they had benched Killian Hayes, and he came in and gave some good minutes. And see you later that next day. But he wanted out, so he gets his wish on that end.
Ricky, can I say the only negative about that is I'm sure they tried to get something back in return for Killian.
Yeah.
And so that shows that his value right now is not very high. And then to get waived and not immediately picked up, that's something to think about because I thought somebody would swipe him right away. But when you get waived, that's usually not a good feeling when you've been in the league. He's been in there a few years now. So when you see guys like him and Joe Harris get waived, that's not always a good thing. I'm hoping things end up turning out well for them, but their agents are going to have a job to do.
But, you know, I can dig it with Joe Harris. He's 32. He's had a nice run. But Killian, I think, is 23. What would be your advice if you saw him today?
He's got to continue to work on his three-pointer, for one. I think he's a guy that runs the offense quite well, Ricky. I think he's not a bad defender. Sometimes you're just in the wrong situation, and the offense might not definitely be what you need as a player. And so sometimes, you know, change of scenery is good. And I'm still thinking some team is going to. I don't even think it. I know some team is going to pick him up. Now, whether to be a playoff team or not is another thing. But, you know, there are teams out there like the Washington Wizards, and there's several teams that are looking for a young talent. And I still think he's a young talent. I just think that he didn't mesh with what they got going on right now. And I'm going to wish him well because I still think he has a 10-year NBA career ahead of him.
And you know what? I look at how Chauncey Billups struggled to establish himself in the league. It took him 5-6 years, really.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy.
People think this game. Ricky, you imagine every day, you just think how difficult it is. People, they look at it as a game, but I think sometimes people forget it's a business. And you look at it, it can get frustrating. You got guys like Klay Thompson that have been multi-all-stars that you've seen get frustrated. So my best advice for Killian was to just keep working hard. Don't take it as a negative being released. Take it as a positive. You might get somewhere else, end up in a better situation.
Yeah. This is a grown man's game for sure.
Oh, for sure.
and I think that's what gets lost a lot of the times, Derrick, that it's a business that are played by men, grown men. Oh yeah. We need to send our best wishes out to Scott Pollard too.
Big Scott, heart problem, I believe, right?
Yeah, he's awaiting a heart transplant at Vanderbilt Medical Center in Nashville.
Sending my prayers, Mr. Scott Pollard. Hope everything goes well, my man. Well, quite a
Yeah,
personality in the NBA.
he has a genetic heart condition that may have been started by a virus that he contracted back in 2021. Well, I tell you this, he's at Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville. That is a great place to go. They have a tremendous staff and facility there, world class. So we wish Scott the best down in Nashville with his heart.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, Kelly Kelly Olynyk could be a guy. The Raptors traded for him, but I wonder if they're going to keep him around. He's a 7-footer, can shoot the three, veteran guy. If he gets released, because that'll be the next step, right, Derrick?
Yes.
Who are some of these guys that may just get released and are just out on the street? Could he add value to somebody?
I'm sure he was surprised. I'm surprised to see him get moved from Utah. If you heard all the trade talk was Jordan Clarkson going to be moved, or was Lauri Markkanen? So to see Olynyk moved, I believe he went to the Raptors. So I think there's another move. I don't know how he fits Toronto, because Toronto, as we know, is building their team around the young guys, Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, and RJ Barrett. So I don't know how what their plans is, but Kelly is definitely a guy that can help a team as we move forward down the playoffs. He could help a team like a Miami Heat. And I just think that something as good is going to happen for him. Maybe it'll come a little later than he wants it, but he definitely is a guy that could help a contending team right now.
Hey, speaking of Miami, are they just laying low down there? They're currently 7th at 28 and 24. And it seems like the last couple of years, they just motor through the regular season, and then come playoff time, they turn on a switch.
That's what they seem to be like to me. Again, this year, they have a really good roster. If you look at them, they got rid of Kyle Lowry and bring in Terry Rozier. But that's a team, Ricky, that I believe they just think they're hard to beat in a 7-game series. And so you don't see them a lot of times show a lot of effort as far as trying to contend for first place in the conference or second place. I think that's by design. I just think that they believe that they're a well put together team, and they're trying to just, I say, settle that they get in that 4th, 5th, 6th spot, and then they're a team that's dangerous in the first round against anybody. And I just think that's the confidence they have in themselves. That I hate you say teams should never turn it on and turn it off, but for some reason they seem to, the history has shown that they believe they're a team that can turn it on in a 7-game series.
But they really do, and they don't care if they got to go on the road or anything.
They don't care.
they don't care. Hey, but one other team before I definitely want to get your thoughts on the Super Bowl before we get out of here, but we never talk about this team, the Orlando Magic. They are currently 27 and 24, the 8th spot, just 2 games out of the 6th spot. Good young team. Wagner's played well. Pacheco, the kid from Duke, I can never pronounce his name properly. Banchero.
Paulo Banchero,
Yeah. Your thoughts on them?
I actually had a conversation about Orlando earlier today with a friend here in San Antonio, because he likes them from the beginning of the season. His surprise team was Orlando, and my surprise team was the Indiana Pacers. And I believe right now they're half a game maybe apart from each other.
Yeah.
So that's funny. But Orlando is a team that's going to cause problems in the first round. They have a very good young nucleus, so that could hurt them. But I believe in the Wagner, or they pronounce it, well, it's spelled Wagner, but the Wagner brothers.
Yeah.
So I believe in them. My only questions would be Jalen Suggs and those guys, the guard spot. I like them, and you got Cole Anthony. And I'm trying to think who their starting point guard is. I had it on the top of my tongue. And he's a guy that I don't know if that moves the needle with their point guards. They're young. They have a lot of talent.
Say it again. Anthony there?
Well, he's coming off the bench. And Suggs is coming off the bench. They got another guy that's starting at the point guard. I can't think of who it is offhand.
I'm looking at their roster right now. It's not Fultz.
Yeah, Markel Fultz. Yeah.
He's the starter at point?
He's been they've been put him in the lineup, yeah. So he's had some good time, Ricky. Remember, it's sad because at one time we were looking at him like him and Ben Simmons were the two guys that we couldn't figure out. And we've seen him come back. He had his shooting woes where he had the yips, I call them. And we've seen him bounce back the last 2 or 3 years. So that's been great to see. But, yeah, he's been in the lineup. And I just question if they have enough firepower. I really love Banchero and Wagner. But I think they're one of those young teams that are up and coming, kind of like we looked at Oklahoma City last year. And I just think they're maybe one piece short from contending in the Eastern Conference this year.
Yeah. Okay, D, the big game is Sunday.
Man, you putting pressure.
You like?
Hey, Ricky, I know people, the 49ers history, a lot of people, I don't know if they know that the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years, 1994, I believe.
Wow.
And so they got a really good team. I know there's still some question marks about their quarterback position, Brock Purdy. But I like their team, especially when they're healthy. When they were healthy, they were the best team in the league. I love Patrick Mahomes. What he's done for the game of football. He's already in the top 5 for me as an all-time quarterback. And that I know this early, but he's done so much. But I think it's the 49ers' time. I know Kansas City is the defending champion, but I think it's time for the San Francisco 49ers. I think the West Coast offense is going to work for them. I think they'll defend well enough to kind of limit Mahomes. You never could stop a Patrick Mahomes. But I think they'll try to limit some of their defensive breakdowns because, Mahomes can beat you with his legs or with his feet or with throwing the ball. And I think the 49ers would make a good adjustments. And I'm going to pick the 49ers to win this game in a close one, 31-28 San Francisco.
Man, it's hard. It's going to be hard watching that game for the first time in my life. I'm going to watch that game saying, damn, the Lions ought to be in the Super Bowl game. Yes, I've never said that, been able to say that with any conviction. I can actually say that this year. But you know what you said that I did not realize it's been 30 years since the 49ers. You see how these teams get these reputations for excellent. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. I covered that game. That was the Jerry Rice. They beat San Diego in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And they've had a donut ever since then. But everybody talks about the Cowboys, and they've overlooked the 49ers.
Right. Wow. Hey, that's why I love talking with you, D. You have such insight on the world of sports, man. You always
thank you.
But, hey, we'll do this again next week, and we'll see. Maybe we'll have some of these buyout contracts to talk about as we go forward. But, Derrick, I appreciate you, brother. Now, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember, we're here every Thursday, 9 p.m. For Rickey Hampton, Derrick Gervin. Peace, everybody.
I love you, Ricky. Have a good night. Everybody stay safe out there.
See you, D. Love you too, brother.
Take care.